A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew, chapter 9, Cure of a Paralytic. He got back in the boat, crossed the water, and came to his hometown. And suddenly, some people brought him a paralytic, stretched out on a bed. Seeing their faith, Jesus said to the paralytic, "Take comfort, my child. Your sins are forgiven." And now some scribes said to themselves, "This man is blaspheming." Knowing what was in their minds, Jesus said, "Why do you think evil in your hearts? Now, which of these is easier? To say, 'Your sins are forgiven,' or to say, 'Get up and walk'? But to prove to you that the Son of Man has authority on earth to forgive sins," then he said to the paralytic, "Get up, pick up your bed and go off home." And the man got up and went home. A feeling of awe came over the crowd when they saw this, and they glorified God for giving such authority to humans. The call of Matthew. As Jesus was walking on from there, he saw a man named Matthew sitting at the tax office, and he said to him, "Follow me." And he got up and followed him. Now, while he was at table in the house, it happened that, see, a number of tax collectors and sinners came to sit at the table with Jesus and his disciples. When the Pharisees saw this, they said to his disciples, "Why does your teacher eat with tax collectors and sinners?" When he heard this, he replied, "It is not the healthy who need a doctor, but the sick. Go and learn what this means. My pleasure is in mercy, not sacrifice. And indeed, I came to call not the righteous, but sinners." A discussion on fasting. Then John's disciples came to him and said, "Why do we and the Pharisees fast, but your disciples do not?" Jesus replied, "Surely the bridegroom's attendants cannot mourn as long as the bridegroom is still with them? But the days will come when the bridegroom is taken away from them, and then they will fast. No one puts a piece of unshrunken cloth onto an old cloak, because the patch pulls away from the cloak and a worse tear happens. Nor do people put new wine into old wineskins. Otherwise, the skins burst, the wine runs out, and the skins are lost. No, they put new wine into fresh skins, and both are preserved." Cure of a woman with a hemorrhage. The official's daughter raised to life. While he was speaking to them, suddenly one of the officials came up who worshipped him and said, "My daughter has just died, but come and lay your hand on her and she will live." Jesus rose and with his disciples followed him. Then suddenly from behind him came a woman who had been suffering from a hemorrhage for 12 years, and she touched the fringe of his tunic, for she was thinking, "If only I can touch his tunic, I shall be saved." Jesus turned round and saw her, and he said to her, "Courage, my daughter, your faith has saved you." And from that hour, the woman was saved. When Jesus reached the official's house and saw the flute players with the crowd making a commotion, he said, "Get out of here. The little girl is not dead. She's asleep." And they ridiculed him. But when the people had been turned out, he went inside and took her by the hand, and she stood up. And the news of this spread all round the countryside. The cure of two blind men. As Jesus went on from there, two blind men followed him, crying out, "Have mercy on us, Son of David." And when Jesus reached the house, the blind men came up to him, and he said to them, "Do you believe I can do this?" They said, "Yes, Lord." Then he touched their eyes, saying, "According to your faith, let it be done to you." And their eyes were opened. Then Jesus sternly warned them, "Take care that no one knows about this." But when they had gone away, they talked about him all over the countryside. Cure of a deaf demoniac. They had only just left when suddenly a deaf demoniac was brought to him. And when the demon had been driven out, the deaf man spoke. And the people were amazed and said, "Nothing like this has ever been seen in Israel." But the Pharisees said, "It is through the prince of demons that he drives out demons." The distress of the crowds. Jesus made a tour through all the towns and villages, teaching in their synagogues, proclaiming the good news of the kingdom, and curing all kinds of disease and all kinds of illness. And when he saw the crowds, he felt sorry for them because they were harassed and dejected, like sheep without a shepherd. Then he said to his disciples, "The harvest is rich, but the laborers are few. So ask the Lord of the harvest to send out laborers to his harvest." The word of the Lord.